Okay, it's March 21st now. I'm not sure how many people are going to come in tonight. If anyone, maybe.
You don't have anything on your calendar for now. Just tell me if you'd like me to create it.
And tonight I'm just going to do the one round. Last night, for those that were here, it went crazy. We did the one round, and I did the 9-hole one a few times. And Scott Fox has come in, so we're gonna start this. I'll start it off anyway. Thanks for the birthday wish, you said. So this course is called Victoria Golf Course, but I don't think it's the Victoria Golf Club. I don't think it's anything to do with here. With any of the ones here, like I don't think it's the Royal Victoria Golf Club, the one that's down by the ocean. You know, when you drive down by, I think it's Beach Drive. I don't think it's that one. Hi, fangirl. How are you? That was a good stream. Now we were talking about Lucas last night, and he was in the Canucks After Dark stream very, very briefly in the beginning. Then he left, so at least we know he's all right, like, which is a good thing. Like, oh, Canucks fan is here, or Canucks fan 024, and that's good. Yeah, last night it went crazy. It won't be as long as last night. Last night we did the 18, but then I did a 9-hole course. I did like 3 or 4 more. At the end, there was only, I think it was like an hour and a half altogether last night. That's too long, like. But mind you, I was telling Shannon in the spring sometime, and I might do it on a night when Clay's not. When he's not staying. Oh, Kemper Canucks. Thanks for the sub, Go Canucks. Yeah, I might do a super long one, like a 6-hour one in the spring. Yeah, your channel looks good, Kemper. I'll watch some of the videos later on when I go to sleep. Like, yeah, I know Japan 4 and Lucas doesn't get along, and I've talked to Clay about that before, and Clay actually knows both of them personally, like, and he said like they're both
I thought
good.
You
like,
might do that. It was an excellent choice. Let's see if this one sticks the green. Okay, setting up here on the green.
Yeah, he looks like Kemper's got a great channel there. It's good. I just talked to Shannon, and she's gonna sit this one out. She's feeling a bit better. I just uploaded an hour-long video of my PS5. Yeah, someday I'll get the PS5, but it's amazing some channels how many subs they have, and they're no different than like any of ours, but they have like thousands of subs. And there's some channels that look really professional, and they have like way less subs than we have. Like,
looks like a fairway off the tee here.
And so Kemper, I do this a couple of times a week, and we just talk about the Canucks and I play the golf. Now we are going to try to do the show, the baseball one at some point.
To the pin. That's safe. Here we go, birdie putt.
I didn't realize that Quinn Hills was that
No,
that
it's
much of a
going right by the
score.
net.
Like he's doing so
All right,
well.
tap this one on in. We'll head to the next. Okay, let's move on.
Imagine Pedersen
Currently
getting like
sitting at 1
over
under
12
par.
million a year. That's just insane. Like,
Might need a bit more club. We got a headwind on this hole.
but I guess if the money's available, he should get it because he's a big part of the team, right?
Oh man, this one's heading to the sand.
And it is private money. It's not like the government's paying for him. Like, so I got a fun fact about Build-A-Bear. You
Yeah,
can
it's
create a
very,
birth
very
certificate
sandy
in the
in
store,
this.
and you can name the bear whatever you want. What do you guys think of our chances of making the playoffs this season? I know it's still possible, but wouldn't we have to win basically all our games, only lose a couple? Yeah, that's so cool. Now, Fangirl, I know you weren't born in the 80s, but you've heard of the Cabbage Patch Kids, right? During that craze, that would come with a birth certificate, and all of them are supposed to be different.
Ooh, look at you, just slicing that out of that bunker. Nicely done. Ooh,
I think
setting
they
up
just
for
got to
birdie
be
here.
more consistent and
So
maybe
good.
add
That was a
like
fantastic
maybe a
shot.
better defenseman.
Alrighty,
But
down to 2 under par after
like
that.
we went to high school in the same era, right? And
And now we're
like
teeing
all
up
through our like we're
par
about.
4.
I know Scott, you're a couple years younger, but in our lifetime, we've always had these mediocre teams, except for 82, 94, and 2011, right? Oh, you had one in your childhood. Oh, that's cool. Yeah, so if you're just saying contending for the playoffs, I think we can do that. But I remember many seasons in the 80s that we would make the playoffs like as a 16th team out of 21, and we'd lose to the Oilers and in 3 straight games because it was just best of 5 in those days. Got to get some sleep. Good
Okay,
night. Thanks for
there we
coming
go.
by.
Here's a putt
Yeah,
for
good night. That was good.
19 feet.
Yeah, there's way less teams that make the playoffs than when me and Scott were growing up as kids in school. Like I said before, we'll win it
Looking really
in
good.
one of these years. So that light.
Yikes, that went right by.
Hey Google, turn off the hallway lights.
On this hole, we've got this left for par.
Habits, Cats, Kids was bonkers. Yeah.
Okay, now let's have a check-in on our scorecard.
And I remember in
And that has kept you at
384 the Rubik's Cube craze.
All right.
I remember they
stepping
used to
up
have
to
the
par 4 here.
like the fun competitions like in the schools and stuff like for fun.
This one looks like it'll play.
But I guess back in the 80s and 90s the players were getting
And
I guess
second
big money
shot
for the
here on
time.
fifth.
right? Because back in the 80s the minimum wage was like $3.25 an hour, and I know it went to 5. One of my first jobs I was $5.50 an hour in the summer of '88 at Oxford Foods.
Yeah,
Right.
that's going to work for you. I'm liking that. 4 feet to the cup.
(2010-11) was something else. My first full season watching prior to watching that on weekends. And my first season was about 82.
And nicely done. That putt will drop on in there for
It's
birdie.
weird. You don't realize, you don't appreciate the value of money until you're. I guess we do in a way, but what I'm trying to say is with the inflation
And after that one, you're 3 under.
and stuff I remember one of my
are on
first
the
cars I
sixth
got
hole
was
now.
a '79 Bobcat, That's like a Pinto wagon. I had that in 1990 to about 92. Then I got a 85 Dodge Caravan, or no, Plymouth Voyager, like a mini Dodge Caravan. And in 92, that was $5,000. I remember up in Duncan, me and my dad looked at a little Nissan truck, and it was 7,900 brand new. Back then, you can't get any truck for under 30 or 40,000 now. The American Girl dolls were a craze in the 80s. My Little Pony was another popular one too. And Shannon's got something neat too, and it's Baby Alive. She always wanted one as a kid, and she never got one. So I think for a gift a couple years ago, I found one on eBay and got it for her. There's actually a video on my YouTube on that one.
Okay, third shot.
So I wonder what toys of the day that are out that kids will be talking about
Let's rewind and watch
10, 15 years from now.
Four under par after that hole.
I read on the Facebook news or somewhere on the news today that there's actually a parent that is suing the makers of the game Fortnite, like a class action suit, saying it's taken away like family time or something. Like, that's kind of crazy in a way, because she could just like limit the kids' time to the game, like. American Dolls, yeah. And I remember in the early 90s, the hockey card craze, the boom on collecting sports cards and stuff, when that Eric Lindros came in.
Setting up here, green side rough.
Yeah, that's like a shooting game. I find those hard to play, like, because there's too much movement on the screen. Like, this is predictable. I saw that too. It's probably not going to stand. It's the parents who should control the kids' video game. That's right, it's not Fortnite's fault. And people don't realize, like, it is sort of like not educational as learning your ABCs, but it does sort of teach you strategy when you're playing like any of those games, because the goal is to get the enemy. So it is sort of in an odd way teaching somebody like something, you know what I mean? And yes, they should be outside playing like street hockey like we did when we were growing up, but they could be doing a lot worse, right? They could be in like downtown, like throwing rocks through windows and stuff, or getting into drugs.
Putting this one from downtown. This is it's going to be interesting.
This is a long ways away, but we can try to get it. Yeah, for these ones that are so far away from the flag and the hole, I just try to get it like closer. Tamagotchis were popular. I don't remember those. I remember the Pet Rock, or you don't remember the Pet Rock, do you? And that was more in the 70s, like.
And after that one, your score will go up to 2 under par. Teeing up here on the 8th hole.
Nothing to say about UBS. Oh, right. Yeah, they won the championship. And wasn't Griffin Outhouse the goaltender for that? The player that played for the Victoria Royals for a few years. Is that what we're talking about, or is that a different team that won? Because I know that was all over the news and stuff.
Rough. This shouldn't be too bad.
Oh no,
Here it
UBS
comes the
is buying.
sand.
Oh, I didn't hear that.
Setting up here now for our third shot.
On the third.
All right, we're getting there. We're almost to the green. Let's do this.
I gotta lean forward to see this one. It was a virtual pet where you had to feed it and keep it alive
Good luck
for a
on this one.
maximum of
Par
25
save,
days,
possibly.
depending on how well you took care of it. They're still available in stores. Well, yeah, I remember that now. Yeah, I've heard of that. Yeah, it sort of had a digital screen too, didn't it? Like a little LCD screen about the size of a little bit bigger size of a watch, like. And he carried it around.
Looking good. That'll do nicely.
Yeah, they must have been a problem in schools for teachers and stuff, like.
And after that hole, you're 2 under par. And we are working with the tailwind on this hole.
Like when I was growing up, I don't think we had too many distractions that we could bring into the classroom. I know,
That was spicy.
like the digital calculators, they didn't like unless they were doing a unit on stuff, and they would ask you to bring them in. Well, I know. Back in Gordon Head Elementary School in the '80s, the sports cards was kind of a distraction, like the hockey cards. They would like flip against the wall, like.
This one's your third.
Yeah, sometimes they would line up cards. Like if you go behind Gordon Head Elementary School, which is now the middle school, underneath that area there, we would line them against the wall, and you would each put 2 cards up, and the idea was to knock all the cards down, and the winner would get all the cards that were already down. Like, I only did it a few times.
Second sand shot coming up.
What word did you write upside down? There was one shell gas, and there was one, was it SO2? You could do the shell gas. And Fangirl says, I was watching old sports page clip on YouTube when Linden was traded to the Islanders, and crazy to hear a young Jornhouse in that clip. Yeah, that was a Mike Keenan thing. Yeah, me and Shannon were talking about that the other day, like how John Garrett has aged. But then I looked him up. He is 71 now. And did you know he played in the 83, I think it was 83 NHL All-Star game, because he replaced Richard Brodeur, who was injured. I think that was the year that happened. And he was playing so well, he could have won the MVP, but then Gretzky scored 3 or 4 goals in the third period. Because in those days, you just had 2 goaltenders, like 2 on each team, I think it was. But now it's too much of a. I don't really like it. I like in the old days it was the Clarence Campbell Conference versus the Prince of Wales, which is basically West versus East. So Scott, you went to Gordon Head Elementary, didn't you? So you remember the same
let's get out of this green
teachers I would like. I would have remembered. I think you went there. Oh no, you went to Torquay. Oh, I didn't realize that. Okay, that's right. Yeah. I've only ever been in
Here's a
that
20-foot putt.
school once or twice. I know years ago, back in the 80s, there was a science fair there, and I think we went on a mini field trip with a grade 5 or 6 class. I remember when the NHL named all-star captains, and they'd have a draft to determine. That's right. Yeah, they did that for 1 year. Yeah, they did that for a couple of years. Then another year they had the North American All-Stars versus the European All-Stars.
Ouch, right by the
My
hole.
oldest daughter's at Gordon Head.
For the quad.
Yeah, so there's no one there teaching I would remember. Up until about
Okay,
5 years
head to the
ago,
next.
the principal was
And
Mr.
right
Brent
now you
Kelly,
are 2 over par.
and in 83, 84 he was a first-year student teacher when I was in grade
Need
7.
a little more power. We
But
got
I don't think
headwind
there's
on
any
this hole.
teachers there that I would remember that were there from when I was there. But there is a girl I went to Lambrick with. I can't remember her name now. And she's a teacher at Gordon Head. Oh, Bright, is there a teacher, Lisa Bright, Mrs. Bright? Or her name was Bright back then.
And setting up here in a fairway bunker.
Oh, Deanna Sharp. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, she's a good teacher, like. Yeah, I've been in Gordon Head a few times with the proximity to Lambrick, because they used to do the band and choir used to share the same teacher. And was it a couple years ago they borrowed some of our track and field equipment, and I had to go back and get it from them because they didn't bring it back when they said they would, and we needed it.
This one's 17 feet.
Of course, they've added on to that school since I was there. Watch Canucks Twitter go crazy after the draft lottery. Fans who want the Canucks to draft a player going first overall. I don't think Torquay's had any expansion, have they, Scott? Like in the years we've lived here in Victoria. I do remember when the front of the school was the brown. It was an orange color. I remember that. And there's some houses on Torquay near the school that have been torn down and new houses have gone up.
This will be for bogey. All right, solid putt. And currently sitting at 3 over par. That wind is going right to left out there.
They did it. Oh, okay, so when I moved to Victoria in '78, it was pretty much, I wouldn't have noticed the expansion. Yeah, Gordon Head Middle, or Gordon Head School, which is now Gordon Head Middle, I think that was built around at that location in '65, right? Then I know they did a renovation in the early '80s, around '81, when they put on the like the backside where the senior wing is. Then in the early 2000s, they put the new library on the front. And that because when you go in on the left now, I think that's the office. That used to be the library when I went there. And at one time they had at least, same as Lambrick, they had about 8 or 9 annexes out back. At Torquay, is there an upstairs too? I think there is, isn't there? At Lambrick, of course, the only upstairs is when you go in the gym. There's a weight room above it. Oh, there is an upstairs. So they must have an elevator now, I guess. to get to the code. Like,
All right, putting here for bogey. Oh,
oh, I don't remember. There's a weight room at Lambrick. So you know when you go in the gym, on you have the boys' change room on the
not even
left,
on the green anymore.
the girls on the
On
right.
the green side, sand.
In the far corner
down here.
of the gym, like to the left of the boys' change room entrance, there's a cut in the wall there, and there's a staircase going up, and there's a weight room up above now. The room was always there. It was there when we went to Lambrick, but it was only accessible through a janitorial room
Whoa.
in the back. And to answer
That was
Fangirl's
very
question, I don't know
well
where I
judged
was
on your part. You made all the right
when they had the
decisions.
Columbine
Man, that could
shooting.
have dropped easily.
Yeah, so
5
it's
feet
above
to
the
the
change
cup from
rooms. And there's another access. If you go down by where the drafting room was, there's a janitorial room around there on the left.
This putt's
And
good
there
so
was
far.
a staircase even back when
Okay,
we were
moving
there.
on.
But I think they had to do it properly. They had to put the other staircase in. So it's like
6
fire
over par on the round.
safety. And
go now
when you
on the
go in on the
12th.
right hand side, there's some mirrors on the wall, so the girls can do like jazz dance or. And you can go there after school and use it, but I think like a staff member has to be up there, I think.
Got about 125.
I think it was mainly
to the
put
pin.
in by Rocky Vitale for the baseball program. But yeah, the Columbine, there's been too many shootings in the high schools. It's so sad.
Come
Well,
on,
the
kick
guns
back.
are just so accessible in the States. Like,
Safely on the green. Here we go. This is for birdie.
and in Lambrick, where the foods room was and textiles, just down from there, they put a multi-purpose room in like several years ago in the late 90s. And I thought it was a great idea, and they had it there for years and years. But about 4 or 5
Looked
years ago,
really
they
good.
sort of chopped it almost in half, like,
Yes, that's what I want
right?
to see.
Because somebody wanted some more offices in the back. Like, I always think a school should have one big double-sized classroom for multi-use things.
And you're currently
Because Scott will
5
remember
over
this,
for
when we had our final exams,
this hole, we got a
we had them all in
tailwind
the
to deal with.
gymnasium, right? Like a final for math 10 or like grade 9 French, and so it was quite intimidating taking a final test. States need tougher gun laws for sure. Less of the shootings happen in Canada. Yeah, we've had a couple in Canada, unfortunately. Didn't we have that Martin Lepuin
Yeah, you'll take that.
thing in a technical
Here's our
school in
second
Quebec
shot on
City
the 13th.
several years ago?
That's okay. Don't worry about it.
But there was something
Actually,
terrible happened here. Was it about a year ago? Down on Shelburne, these
okay. Here's our
two
third
kids, while they
shot.
were in their early 20s, they came up and they tried to rob a bank, and there were some shootings there. Like, oh, I have to shoot from here. A blinded shot. Those ones are always fun.
Setting up here for your fourth.
So yeah,
shot.
getting back to the Canucks for a second, it will be interesting, like what point total they finish with this year, and what pace we start out next year to get.
5 feet to the cup from here.
because it seems like you could be out of the playoffs by early November
All right,
now.
bogey putt drops. And you're currently 6 over par. Okay,
We're
let's
6
do
over,
this.
but that's
Hole
all
number
right.
14 ready to go. A little off on that approach, but that's okay. Okay, careful on this one. We're in the rough.
I just wonder what changes will happen in the off season here in Vancouver. Yeah, it's going to be an interesting one. The extra 6 weeks of vacation watching the playoffs on TV never does the Canucks well. No. Well, because there's a lot of like European players, and a lot of the players aren't from Vancouver. Like they're as soon as they're eliminated, like they go home and do other things like too. But I know what you mean. Like they're not actually playing hockey. They are, even though they're working out, it's not the same thing playing the actual games. You can skate every day, but you don't have that game.
And this one's for bogey.
Bogey, we gotta try to get this one close. But all the players are so fit. Like you take all the NHL teams, and you still find the most unfit player. He's still going to be more fit than the guys of like the 80s and 90s.
A 4-footer.
He won't be more fit than all the players, but it's just that we know more on the diets and the training methods and stuff like.
All right, well done. And that's 8 over par at the moment. And we got a left to right.
That's why in sports like the Olympics, like a lot of records get broken. I don't watch the playoffs unless the Canucks are involved. The exception I'll see if the team that wins the cup hoisting it, but not a full game. Yeah, there was at one point I had seen every Stanley Cup presented since like 1980 until maybe about 10 years ago when I sort of didn't have to like sit and watch every game. Because it does get sad if your team's not in it.
Fingers crossed for a nice up and down out of this green side bunker.
And you can tell I'm tired when
and this is
I'm not concentrating.
Shot. Here we go. Drop this and save that par.
It'd be kind of neat to see a Canadian team win. Like, it'd be kind of neat to see like Winnipeg. I guess out of all the Canadian teams, if we can't win, it would be nice to see Winnipeg, because they've never ever won it, have they? No, obviously they haven't. Neither Winnipeg team did.
Yeah, a little too much on there.
Because Edmonton has, of course, and Calgary has.
For bogey.
But the odd thing is, there's nobody involved in the organization that was on the team playing or coaching when they won it. So it's almost like their first cup for many. Like,
oh, that was almost in. Here we go for
I like the chances
bogey
of Calgary this season for Calgary. Yeah.
Okay, next hole coming up.
Was it 2006 and 07? Like Calgary went to the finals one season and the Oilers went the next.
Best of luck getting it close on this one.
So if you aim way over here, where that 176 and the arrow pointing down is, it will go on the green because of the wind is going 10 kilometers or 10 miles an hour.
This one's looking good.
Yeah, the last Canadian team to win the Stanley Cup was 1993.
Good job. We're on the green.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, who would have thought back then,
this one's 20
if you were to say in 93 when Montreal won the Cup, that no Canadian team will win it for over 30 years. We would have said, well, that's crazy because there's 7 Canadian teams in Canada. Like, one of them will get it. And Ottawa's never won it, too, in the modern era either.
A little too much power. Okay, third shot. And I guess you're just going to hold this one out.
We have the flying V.
And just for my sake, let's take one more look at what you just did there.
Oh, you were in Montreal. So what year was that? Oh, that that was 1993.
Okay, 10 over for your round.
Oh, well, are you from Montreal, Scott? I didn't realize that.
Teeing up now on number 17.
That was 1993. Oh, so you were graduated high school by then, right?
Looks like this tee shot's coming in.
Yeah, you would have graduated in 90 or 91. Yeah, that would have been something in Montreal won in 2021. That was the Bubble Demko year, wasn't it? Oh yeah, because we lost to the Vegas Golden Knights at one time. Because that would have been amazing if it was Vancouver and Montreal in the finals. That would have been just, it would have been going bananas. Like,
look at you go. On the green and under regulation. Putting for eagle here. Good stuff.
putting for eagle, that means 200 par.
15 feet.
That's amazing. One hole you can go 2 over par, and another hole you have a chance to for plus 10. So this will bring us to plus 8. Nope.
Right by. All right, let's pop this in. Birdie putt. Good work out there. That's birdie number 6 today. All right, 9 over par for the day.
This wasn't the bubble in Edmonton. It was the season after the dreaded all-Canadian team. That's right. Yeah, that's of course it was. Yeah. Yeah, it was a weird thing. So that season we knew there would be a Canadian team in the conference final, right? Because all the Canadian teams were in one division.
My worst fears realized. Heading to the bunker. This is very.
Did Vancouver make the playoffs that year or no? No.
Looks like we're heading to the sand. This is our third shot.
Third shot on the last hole here.
All right, pretty safe shot. I like it. Playing it cool. We're on the green. That's good. Here we go. Birdie putt coming up.
Well, she lives in northern BC. Oh yeah. big bad contracts going to Arizona. They
A
didn't.
little bit too firm on that one. Here is a 12-footer.
They got the bad contracts. That's right. Yeah. But it'll be interesting if they keep all the out. It's just so hard because someone's got to have the cap space and they got to want them. It's just not like when you buy a car and you don't like it a year down the later, you can trade it in, but you still owe the same money on. You still owe money on it, right? It's kind of like that, like.
7-foot putt here.
And no matter what you paid for that car, you might have got a great deal at the time. It's never worth the same unless it's an exotic car. The value goes up somehow, which doesn't happen very often, like. But I know my Dodge Caravan. In a couple of years ago, I paid 17 for it with 70,000 K on it, and the same year, 2015, they're about 16 with well over 170,000 K. The trade is looking worse by the season, honestly. Benning for screwing us over all the way.
Thank you for the round, and we'll see you next time.
So I think I'm going to call it a night. As you can tell, I'm pretty tired. So there'll be other nights when we do more than one round or a round and a half, like. So I'm going to call it a night, and we'll see you tomorrow night on the Clay on the Clay's channel. So thanks again for all the birthday wishes, and thanks for watching this stream and the other two streams tonight. So have a good night, everyone. We'll talk to you soon.